Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today, I am Puteri Zahira Maisara binti Hazrin from class PIM2 and my friend Wardina Shazwina binti Rosmaili from PIM2. Today, we will present Task 1 presentation for MTES 3273, Teaching and Assessment of Geometry, Measurement, Statistics and Probability. So for the introduction, the topic of geometry is fundamental in primary school mathematics, but it often presents challenges for young learners, particularly those in second year of primary school. This difficulty is evident in their struggle to understand and relate concepts of 2D and 3D shapes, draw 3D shapes, and connect 2D shapes with 3D shapes through the use of nets. These challenges have been further compounded by the shift to online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic, which limited students' opportunity for direct interactions and guidance from the teachers. As school returns to face-to-face teaching and learning, mathematics educators face the daunting task of addressing learning loss, enhancing students' visual and spatial skills, and reinforcing their mastery of basic geometric concepts. Effective teaching strategies and creative approaches are essential to help students overcome these difficulties and build a strong foundation in geometry. So the article as a reference for this presentation is titled Analysis of Weaknesses Among Second Grade Primary School Pupils on Learning Geometric Topic, was written by Muhammad Basri Naziri, Muzira Musa, Shu Chengmeng, and Irwan Mahazi Ismail. So the article focuses on analyzing the weaknesses faced by second grade primary school pupils in learning geometry. It particularly examines their difficulties in understanding 3D shapes, 2D shapes, and problem solving as specified in the Malaysian Mathematics Standard-Based Curriculum. This study used questionnaires and interviews with experienced teachers to identify common misconceptions and difficulties, including remember shape names, understanding characteristics, drawing shapes, and identifying nets of 3D shapes. The findings aim to help teachers improve teaching strategies and provide better resources to enhance pupils' understanding of geometry. The image in the slide is from the article and it shows the weaknesses in learning geometry from teachers' perspective. So there are four main areas. The first one is 3D shapes basic concept. Students struggle to grasp fundamental concept of 3D shapes. The second one is characteristic of 3D shapes. Difficulty in understanding and identifying the properties of 3D shapes. The third one is identify 3D net shapes. So the students find it challenging to recognize 3D nets and how they form solid shapes. The fourth one is identify the 2D and 3D shapes. Difficulty in differentiating and understanding the relationship between 2D and 3D shapes. So next we go to the challenges or issues faced by the teachers to teach geometry. So for the first one is learning loss. So the issue is during online learning, students had limited interactions with teachers, reducing opportunities for direct guidance and feedback. So this lack of support made it harder for students to grasp complex topics like geometry, which requires strong visualization and spatial understanding. Concepts that involve visualizing shapes and understanding their properties are difficult to master without proper guidance. So the challenge is to address this problem, teachers need to reteach fundamental concepts that may have been missed or poorly understood. So this involves revisiting previous lessons, conducting revision sessions, and using creative teaching methods to enhance understanding. So these effective strategies may include visual aids, interactive tools, and providing ample practice opportunities to rebuild students' foundational knowledge. So the next one is lack of visual and spatial skills, which is the issue is students often struggle with visualizing and drawing 2D and 3D shapes, especially when it comes to understanding how 3D shapes are formed from their nets. So the problem is worsened by inadequate teaching aids during online learning, where students rarely interact with tangible models or real life examples. So the challenge is teachers need to provide more concrete teaching aids to help students visualize geometric shapes better. Using 3D models, geometric blocks, and hands-on activities can significantly improve their spatial skills. Additionally, creative preparations for materials such as using augmented reality (AR) apps or physical manipulatives can enhance students' ability to visualize and construct shapes accurately. So the third one is lack of mastery basic concepts. So the issue is students often forget shapes, names, features, and struggle to relate 2D shapes with 3D shapes. So this problem highlights a weak grasp of fundamental geometry concepts. When students lack this foundational knowledge, it becomes challenging for them to progress to more advanced topics in geometry. So the challenge is teachers need to reinforce basic concepts through repetition or interactive learning methods. So activities like geometry games, group discussion, quizzes, and projects can make learning more engaging. Furthermore, encouraging students to regularly practice identifying and drawing shapes as well as relating 2D shapes to 3D structures can significantly improve their conceptual understanding.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Iwalina. So I will explain the next about the problem solving for the issue in the journal. So the first method we using is using games and simulation in geometry learning. So, because the problem is the least number of pupils agree with item 6 in the journal, say that they have difficulties remember the names of 2D shape if there is no guidance from the teacher. So the first method using is the GeoGebra software. So what is GeoGebra? GeoGebra is an interactive tool specifically designed to help students understand geometry concepts through interactive activity. So the GeoGebra engages students in solving geometry problems in an environment that mimics the real world. So the software, how to use it to teacher apply the GeoGebra in the teaching and learning. So first thing, teacher need to ensure all the students have the access to GeoGebra software, which is a tablet, computer or smartphone. So teacher need to introduce the game to the student and explain the learning objectives such as understanding the properties of 2D and 3D shapes or connecting 2D shapes with 3D nets. And then teacher need to provide instruction on how to play the game, in GeoGebra and complete the task with it. So after that, student can play or will play the game individually or grouping. So they need to solving the geometry problems provided. So after the game, teacher will briefing the session to discuss what student learn, what student face, the challenge they face when they play, and then how they solve the problems. So for example, the activity teacher can use or apply in the problem to help student is given a task to build 3D shapes using nets provide in the GeoGebra, and then they need to select the correct net and fold them into the desired 3D shapes. So students can also be tasked with identifying the properties of shapes such as face, the edge, the vertex through the GeoGebra. So the advantage of using this method is it encourages students their motivation and interest through the interactive exploration of geometry concepts. So and then it also helps students to visualize geometry concept more clearly and allows students to learn through experiment and trial and error. Okay, that is method 2. So the problem is most second grade pupils have a clear and good understanding of 2D shapes compared to 3D shapes. So the method to solve this problem is using concrete teaching aids. So we will using 3D models and geometry blocks. So what are 3D models and geometry blocks? 3D models and geometry blocks are tangible teaching aids that students can touch and manipulate, such as cubes, pyramid, prisms, and cylinder. So these materials help students visualize 3D shapes and understand their properties. So the next slide, how to use them, how to use 3D model and block. So the first thing, teacher need to prepare the necessary 3D model or geometry block for the learning activity. So teacher will introduce the 3D model and geometry block to the student and explain the properties of each shape, such as face, the edge, the vertex. So student are and after that student will give one task to build 3D shape using geometry blocks or to fold paper to create it. So after that, teacher will hold a discussion about what the student has built and how they understand the geometry concept through the activity. So for example activity, the teacher can use is student given task to build a cube using geometry block. So they need to identify the face, the edge, the vertex of the cube. So student can also be tasked with folding paper to create nets and then folding them into 3D shape. So after the activity, what they can learn, what the advantage is, the first will help students visualize 3D shape more clearly and then enhance students to understand of the properties of geometry shape. Okay, so the next slide is method 3, which is hands-on activities like paper folding. So the problem in this issue is identify the 2D and 3D shape. So means a pupil difficult to different and understand the relationship between 2D and 3D shape. So the method is hands-on activity. So hands-on activity is involve students actively participating in learning through practical activities such as paper folding, mold building, or drawing shapes. Okay, so the next slide is how to use a method by hands-on activity. So the first thing, teacher must to have a preparation. The teacher needs to have the necessary materials such as paper, the scissors, and the glue. So teacher needs to introduce the concept to be learned, such as how 3D shapes can be combined to form the 3D shapes. So students are given task to fold paper to create nets like this, nets, but it's not same size, but I give an example, and then fold them into the 3D shapes. So after the activity, the teacher hold a reflection session to discuss what students have learned, how they solve the problems. So for the activity, the teacher can use students are given a task to fold paper to create a net of cube like this, and then fold it into a cube. Fold, and then it will be a cube. So student can also be tasked with building a pyramid model using paper and glue. So after pupil learn through this method by hands-on activity, the first thing then they will get improve their fine motor skill and hand-eye coordination, and then will help students understand the relationship between 2D and 3D. How from square can 2D a cube. The conclusion for this presentation is after the pandemic, we can see from the journal students lost long for their knowledge because of pandemic. So the issue of student difficulties in learning community is extreme or very important to address because it has long-term effect on their academic and interest in mathematics. So the purpose solutions and such as the use of algebra and concrete teaching aids and hands-on activity are important and crucial in helping students overcome these challenges. So interactive and practical approaches not only enhance students to understand but also make learning more engaging and meaningful. So teacher play a vital role in guide students and make sure they master for basic geometry concept effectively. So with this step, students can build a strong foundation in geometry and be better prepared to the future challenges in mathematics. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.